Okay, and part three. Now I have a review. Do you have a review?
I have a non-review.
Oh, I like those. Do you want to start?
No, please, after you.
Okay,
No,
this is going to be a very
I'm
quick
gonna get
review.
mine while we mention.
Okay, this is going to be a very quick review. This is from a company called Magic Bean. And Magic Bean, they have this game called Code Talk. Now,
Codetalk.
yes. Now I have mixed feelings about this game, but they have mixed good feelings. Why? The game is tic-tac-toe on steroids. Literally, you are going to have, like in tic-tac-toe, boards with 9 spaces. And this is a game for up to 4 players. What you have to do is put 3 beans in a row. But you're going to have 9 boards with 9 spaces.
Okay.
So what happens? Then you get a bean, you're player number 1. You get a bean and you put it here on this board, which is board number 1, and put it on number 5, which is the central gap.
Right.
The next player would have to put their bean in board number 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the middle one. The number where they put the bean is going to be the number of the board where the next player has to put their bean.
Right.
And so on and so forth until you manage to get 3 in a row. That's it. 3 can be vertical, horizontal, or diagonal, and they can be between boards also. That's the game.
Seems simple enough.
It is simple enough to explain. Now, I have a gripe, and it's that this game is insanely overproduced.
Oh, that's one of those.
Because these boards can be detached from this frame that holds them all together. And it comes in a huge box where the only thing that exists are these boards of these 9 tic-tac-toe boards.
Right.
And all this space, a massive amount of space for 4 baggies with the beans for the players, which are transparent plastic beans.
That's a lot of space.
Correct. So why do I have mixed feelings about it and think that this is overproduced? If they had put this thing in a small box, get rid of the the structure to put together the 9 little tic-tac-toe boards, bring them all together in a smaller box, and you have an absolutely fantastic travel game that you can take with you anywhere that is perfect for kids, and you can teach anyone to play in less than 2 minutes. But as it is, taking this on a road trip, it's kind of impossible.
It's got a very big footprint. Yeah.
Correct. So that's my gripe. The other gripe I have is that it is not very accessible if you're colorblind. The colors of the beans are likely to become confusing.
Oh.
You have to be careful with that. But other than that, it's a game that plays in about, we played it, 3, my friends, we were 3 playing the game. We played it in about 10 minutes. We played a couple of times, and we've played enough. We didn't feel we wanted to play more, but we did feel that we would want to play it again, especially with 4 people. So this is not the game that you're going to be playing all the time, unless you're a child. I think children will absolutely love this game. Love it. But yeah, it's not a game that you're going to be playing constantly, but it is good fun. It's incredibly simple. Once you begin to put bits on the board, is absolutely gorgeous. And I have really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for a super light tic-tac-toe on steroids game to play with all the family, Codetalk, I would look into it. I think is very, very well worth it despite the overproduction.
Right.
So that's my review. What about your non-review?
Okay. So my non-review, well, the reason why it's called non-review is quite simply put. It's a game that I realized I wasn't gonna like early enough that we decided, like, you know what, we can continue playing and absolutely hate the next 3 hours, or we could just put an end to this now and not worry about it. Uh, and that's not saying the game is bad, which seems like it's a natural connection. If I say I'm not going to enjoy this, it must be bad. And the answer is no. I know there are games that people absolutely love that I don't. It comes down to taste. There are things that are, I can say, maybe objectively bad, but then there's some things where I think it's really based on opinion.
Okay.
And my wife and I don't care for take that games. We don't like a game where we're constantly beating up someone else, where our success is entirely based on the elimination of someone else. It's chess. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of people I play with, they don't enjoy a game unless they are crushing an opponent. Like they have to drink the tears of their enemies for them to enjoy something. So we picked up this game called Cerebria.
Okay.
And as you imagine, it is a game about controlling someone's soul or controlling someone's mind. There are two sides to it. There's the light side, the dark side, which is basically gloom and whatever and bliss. And you have these beautiful cards. The cards are beautiful. The illustrations are fantastic. This is the base game. It does not have the minis, but the illustrations are beautiful. You play either bliss or you play as gloom. And at that point, it's effectively an area control game. You are placing down cards in these areas. You're placing down tokens. You're claiming tokens. You're claiming resources, and you're constantly flipping two types of regional control tokens. There's one that's basically that's a quadrant of this kind of hexagonal. It is actually a hexagonal map. And then there's whoever controls. So it's weird too, because you'll have, the regions around the hexagon, but then there's regions in between the hexagons that include those two. So you can control a hexagon but not control the border between the two hexagons. It's kind of weird. It's that fact that you get to area control each of these hexagonal regions, but you don't necessarily control the border between them. So as you place down cards, you get to boost those cards' power rating, and then the total power of your allied cards tells you if you control that region. At the same time, there's a central hexagon that's kind of rotating, and you can pull resources from it. On your turn, you get 3 or 4 actions, and on those actions, you either play resources, place down cards, or try to avert control. One of the big aspects of this game, which is very fascinating, I'll see if I can turn around so you can see it, involves the creation of this tower. There's a big, rather nice-looking tower that climbs up. And the moment you can't place a certain number of your own, you place the topper on it, basically the top stone, which turns it into this really quite dramatic obelisk. Once you do that, the end game is triggered. The end game could also be triggered if you run out of resources or run out of a certain number of cards. But so there's three ways to end the trigger. And then at the end of that game, whoever has maintained control the most gets points, and whoever has the most points wins. So the basic idea from this is right off the get-go is that, wait a second, you're either playing bliss or gloom. Does that mean this is a 2-player game? Yes, it is it's either a two. This is something that I get concerned, and it's kind of a red flag whenever I see games where it is 2 to 4 players, but it's team based, which means there is no way to play it as 3 players. It is either 2 players or it is 4 players. It can never be 3 players because you're playing teams, and that can limit your gameplay. But we picked it up because it promised a solitaire and a cooperative mode. The cooperative mode is basically we're playing one side. It's an AI that plays the other side, which is a little disappointing. I was kind of hoping for something that was a bit more interesting. So yes, right off the bat, it is an absolute take that game. It involves either two teams playing together against each other, or one player or two players playing against each other on a 1-to-1. But because the game has so much take that, it is all about pushing your opponent around, pushing opponents down, reducing control, and so forth. That within 45 minutes of learning the game, because it is not easy to learn this game, that we realized that this was not a game that we had any interest in playing. We're not interested in games where we're playing take that. We're not interested in take that. So right off the bat, we just like, well, we're not interested in playing this game. It could be a very good game, but when my wife and I play games together, we're not interested in playing in playing a game where we are intentionally disrupting the other person's plan. That's why we like games like engine builders, because you can't disrupt someone's engine. That's why we like games where you create things. That's why we can't. Even games that have a little bit of take that, we don't mind so much. But like interaction, when every single thing you do is constantly buggering up the other person's plans. Some people take absolute delight in those types of games. And if that's true, then this is definitely an interesting game for you. But because it's not a game that her and I have had any interest in playing, we ultimately stopped after about 40 minutes. So I can't say I recommend or not recommend this game, because I feel personally that we have to play a game to completion for us to say whether or not it's good or bad.
That's fair.
And so that's my non-review. I will say that it is a game that's got some beautiful production standpoint. I mean, obviously, you can see the artwork is very, very pretty. You can see, like I said, if we can see the back without it wiping out, you can see the art style it's a very dramatic game, and it's big, it's heavy. These cards here are very pretty looking. It's a very nice looking game. It comes with unbelievable amount. You got this big old bag with the tower you build. It's got a lot of cards. It's got a run. That's not a run belt, but you have a rotating segment in the center, which is really cool. I've never been so disappointed with a game's very basic premise, which is it's a 2-player, it's a take that game. And it ultimately, I think we bought it purely. We looked at the box and went, "Oh, this game is pretty. It must be good," not realizing that it had a basic core component that we didn't care for. So that's my non-review for Cerebria.
I guess that's the problem with you judge a game by its cover.
That is exactly the situation.
Well, I'm sorry that you didn't enjoy that. I'm sure that somebody will have, and if they have, maybe they can give you a reason for you to try it again. Maybe they can see something in the game that you haven't thought about, and maybe they can send us an email to let you know, or leave a comment in the show notes, especially in Spotify, which we would appreciate very.
I know Vassal said the game was okay, but he felt it was overproduced, which obviously is something that I'm observing. I don't know if I mean, you were just talking about your game being overproduced. I don't know if overproduction is. I think overproduction applies when it's a game where there's a lot of production value, but the gameplay doesn't reflect that. Like, I love Planet Apocalypse. But even I have to admit, that game is insanely overproduced.
Well, for me, overproduction, more than anything else, is when it doesn't need to be produced, or when the production gets in the way of practicalities. So, for example, in Codetalk, I think the production of the game gets in the way of practicalities, because it stops the game from being something that could be more widely used and more widely enjoyed. So that's why I feel this overproduced. It has things that are not just not necessary, but they are indeed counterproductive. So that's why. But that is it for this section of the show. And we're going for the fourth. So stay there.